Good morning. I'm Reverend Jack Gady. My pronouns are he, him, and I serve as associate minister here. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a community of youth, adults, and children of many diverse theologies, held together by covenant, not creed. Together we share the values of love, interdependence, and transformation. May you know deep welcome and belonging in this place. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box before the opening hymn if you're on Zoom, or add it to our meditation bowl. The bowl is right over there in the Soul Work Center. We're asking you please gain consent before you use someone's full name. And welcome this morning to any visitors. We are so glad you're here. You might have noticed that Reverend Jessica is not here today. She has had a family emergency keeping her in Utah. Her stepmother is seriously ill, and she is staying with her parents to support them. We'll be lifting up her and her family during this morning's meditation. Please send prayers and positive energy their way. Our original plan for this Sunday was to have a question box sermon with Reverend Jessica, but instead you get a question box sermon with me. So here's how this is going to work. For these next 10 minutes or so, you're invited to think of a few questions that you want to ask me, and you'll have a moment later in the service to bring them up in these baskets. The green basket looks like this, right? It's for kids and their parents. I'm going to answer these questions kind of early on in the service during our usual story time slot before the kids leave for their programming. Everyone else, this basket. Got it? Great. These questions can be about anything, but here are the guidelines. I ask you to be appropriate, right? Play and whimsy are allowed, but so are depth and seriousness. You might have a silly question, but you also might have a serious question. Err on the side of seriousness. This is your chance to ask me anything. You might have big theological questions or wonderings about sociology or anthropology. If it's too scientific, I won't know, but someone here will know it, so I'll defer to them. You might have questions about your own heartbreak or questions around spiritual practices. This is your chance to ask some big questions, so please think a bit and be intentional about what you want to ask this morning. The order of service this morning is slightly incorrect about who brought our altar flowers. It was Carla Butts. So big thank you to her for bringing such abundance to bless our service today. We also want to give a big thank you to the Tuscany trio, Brett, Greg, and Larry, for bringing their beautiful music in this morning. And you might also have noticed balloons in the atrium and social hall. Yes, you are correct. Today is the all-church birthday party. At the end of this service, we will have a joyful postlude that will carry us into the social hall, where we will be greeted by an assortment of cakes. Rule number 1, please only take one piece of cake. If there's more, we can do more later. Okay, rule number 2, please only take cake from the back table if you have dietary restrictions. Those are where you find the vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free cakes. So even if they look really, really good, don't take them unless you need them. Please. Thank you. The purpose of today's social hour is to eat cake, celebrate each other, and meet new people. You'll be asked to meet people that share your birthday month. More directions to come. But in the meantime, I want to let you know who baked these cakes. Margie, Cynthia, Katie, Laura, Kate, Peggy, Virginia, Sherry, Gloria, Mara, Cecilia, Molly, Gina, Gretchen, Amelia, Betty, Carol, Heather, and Aaron. Yeah. I was going to ask you to thank the bakers, but I didn't need to. You understood. Thank you, bakers. And one final announcement. Our third Thursday group for 60-plus individuals is happening this Thursday from 11 till 1. Come learn about how art happens in our gallery. Lunch will follow. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love. I should say, if you don't already have a slip of paper or a pen or marker to write down your question, you can come get those from the table up here during the opening hymn, okay? Great. And now, come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place.
Good morning. My name's Deborah. My pronouns are she, her. And this month's theme is rest and restoration. I looked up the word restoration in the dictionary, just to be sure. And to restore is to bring back to previous conditions or previous state. We usually see this as a good thing regarding the loss of good things, restore one's health, restore democracy, restore trust. But the past was never perfect. Should we want to go back to that, is the question I ask. I wish it could go back to the way it used to be. That's a statement we often hear. I propose something other than restoration, maybe call it aspirational restoration, looking to the future, not the past. This requires hope that it could be what the world could be. Work on restoring our future, not our past. But don't forget the other part of the theme, rest. Get some rest in between. I light the chalice this morning for aspirational restoration of ourselves, of our community, and of the world. And now would you join me in the opening words? Love is the spirit of our church, and service is our law. Great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Please rise in body or spirit for opening hymn number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining. And do feel free to come down and get those pens and papers if you need them. So for just the next 2 or 3 minutes, you're invited to bring questions forward. We're going to have some music from our Tuscany trio. Fill those out, bring them up. This is the moment. For those that missed that exact moment, don't worry, there will be more moments. But for now, thank you. I'm going to invite any of the kids, or really anyone who wants to come a little closer for these first few questions forward if they'd like, but no pressure either way. This is not a prop, this is just a water bottle. All right. Well, we have a few questions in here from the kids and their parents. Oh boy. We already hit the ground running with this one. What will the new RE director do to increase our RE capacity and participation? What a great question. Oh, you have the answer. Great. So this is a great question, and it's actually one I'm looking forward to the director of religious education answering, right? They have a vision. They were interviewed by a search committee that had Jessica on it and our board president, Carol Hensler. And that committee found this person, Nick, to be the most equipped and able to come in with a vision, and we get to see that play out, right? What it means for the staff and the congregation to create the space for them to flourish in their first year and to let those roots grow is our work. And they get to bring their vision here and share it with us. So I'm just as excited as you all to hear what that will be. August 1st is when they start. Next question, what is your favorite hymn and why? This is so hard. This is like picking between children. I mean, I can't have a favorite hymn, can I? Blue Boat Home. I mean, here's the thing. It's written by a member of our church. It's so, so beautiful. It's a melody who I knew beforehand, right, from a previous hymn. And not everyone knows that. But the melody is a common melody. And Peter actually kind of syncopated it slightly and added all new lyrics, which are, of course, lovely. Many people here resonate with them. I have a theory that people here especially might resonate with them because of White Bear Lake being so close, and some people occasionally sailing. And some of the nautical themes of the hymn itself really resonate here. So that's my answer, and I'm excited to hear your answers more soon. Will there be Wellspring this year and when? I'm going to say this one for later. Ooh, Deborah, put this in the tan basket, please. Thank you. Just put it in there. All right. What month was the church's birthday, and what is my favorite animal? That's a great question. My favorite animal is my dog, Babo. He's so sweet. I sometimes joke that he's like the only dog that's never going to die. But I know that's not actually true, because that's actually part of why we have pets, to expand our sense of love, knowing that they will die at some point, and that that's also part of life, and the beautiful part of life that we let them into. And I will be corrected if I get this wrong. What month was the church's birthday? I'm pretty sure that the founders signed on November of 1956. The history buffs in the room, am I getting it right? I'm seeing nodded heads. Okay, November is their birthday month, which is the same as my birthday. Who else is November? A few? Okay, great. The November birthdays will meet later over cake. Great question. Are there other questions just from you up here that came up this morning? Questions that you didn't write down, but questions you have? We have time for one more. Yeah?
Universe endless?
Is the universe endless? I don't know that it is endless, but I don't know that it isn't endless. I think I'm kind of agnostic about whether the universe is endless or not. What about you? You don't know, okay. Yeah. Expanding for sure, yeah. How about you? What's your question? What's inside a black hole? See, okay. I knew I was going to get science questions. I think it's something called antimatter. I'm looking for help.
It breaks, when things go into a black hole, it breaks down the atoms, stretching.
Yeah, it breaks down the atoms. Yep.
Stretching it hundreds of miles long. It goes
Right.
That process.
I think
You know what that process is?
I think it's one of those things that we're not going to really ever know for sure.
Do you know what the process
What?
is called when it stretches?
I don't.
Spaghettification.
The process is called spaghettification. This is what I'm learning.
Are going to know.
Someday we probably will know, but not today. I don't know. I'm not a scientist though. I'm a minister. Ooh. Okay. Another question over here.
I have a question.
Yes.
You are a minister.
I am a minister.
What other occupation?
Ooh. If I weren't a minister, what other occupation might I have? This is actually really a good one. Well, I'll say this. My previous occupation was in the hospitality industry, so serving and bartending. I enjoyed aspects of that. One aspect I did not like was the hours and the time on my feet. The aspect I loved is the people side of it and being with people. So I think the job I have of ministry is perfect because it kind of combines some of the things I loved about that job with the other job I would maybe have if not minister, which would be writer. So here I get to be a writer, but not just a solitary, closed-off writer, but like a really engaged writer that can also use people skills. But yeah, probably writer. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for coming up for the kind of story time window of questions, and now we're going to move on with our service. Go Lift It Up is the next hymn we'll sing to let our children and youth go off to their classes. Please join me in singing it. Let's pause here for a moment of prayer or meditation. Finding a comfortable seat, letting your shoulders melt away from your ears, and creating some spaciousness within you. Spirit of life, source of love, we gather together today on this hot summer morning with hope in our hearts and desire for connection in our minds. We come together to learn from each other, to expand our definition of who we mean when we say we. It is a radical thing to slow down and pause in our hectic and busy world. For just these few moments, we unite our hearts in the spirit of solidarity. We know that a grief shared is a grief that is divided in half, and we know that a sorrow shared is a sorrow doubled. We willingly share our joys and sorrows together in this moment, in this congregation of people, both online and in this room. All of us have our own constellation of struggles and successes, joys and sorrows. And we take this moment to explore that constellation, to reflect on what is needed here in this moment, and to support one another. This morning we hold the following people in celebration and in sorrow. We think of Reverend Jessica, her stepmother Bonnie, and the whole family there as Bonnie wrestles with her illness. Prayers and hopes and positive energy to all involved. And here we have a request, thoughts and love to our family in Michigan who have had a lot of life changes this year. And here from this space, from this stillness and into it, we name out loud the people on our hearts and minds. Knowing that together we are more able to hold all of this than we can alone. May it be so and make it so. Amen. Please remain seated and join me in singing number 123, Spirit of Life, in the gray hymnal.
I'll wing it. This is the time for the offering. Piece of paper right over there telling me what to say. This week's gathering in the offering, thank you, Jack. Yeah, so each week we collect from our offering, for our offering plate. The money collected this morning goes to the service of the work being done in this congregation and our mission. We value generosity and the bonds that get formed among us from a common mission and vision. Thank you for your generosity and faith in the covenant work of meaning-making that we do together. The offering will now be gratefully collected.
Thank you. Wow, you have questions for me. Deborah helped separate them into categories. We have a few from Zoom, too. I'm just going to do my best, y'all. We have about 10 minutes here. We'll have a music break, 10 more minutes, starting my timer, so I'll know when 10 minutes has expired. What is your favorite thing about the Minnesota Fair? Here's the thing. On the first Wednesday, the only Wednesday of the State Fair, there is a llama costume contest where 4-H kids dress up their llamas and themselves in matching outfits, well, the winners do. If you can't see the similarity or the pairing, it's not going to get very far. It's the best event of the State Fair. It is announced, narrated by someone. There's judges. It's a whole thing. It's like 2, maybe 3 hours long. And it's thousands of people who spectate. Best thing in the fair. And that's saying a lot, because I love the fair. Was there any point in time you absolutely knew what you planned on doing for your vocation? A specific moment? And what were you doing just before that moment? Well, my first answer is going to change the second question, so no, not really. There was a moment where my vocation became clear to me, and then after that moment, I couldn't unsee it. So kind of. But in general, I have been a person who wants to make meaning of my world and wants to companion others who are doing the same, like from way back. I was on a trajectory to do that in a conservative religion, the religion of my upbringing. And then when I left that religious world, I kind of gave up on that vision of my career and then took about a decade away. And when I found a liberal religion, a liberal religious home where I could feel not just myself and like I belonged there, but also that I was needed there, then the vocation calling, right, was clear. So there was a moment where my then partner's sister was about to get married and asked me to officiate the wedding because she saw me in that role. And I was like, oh, right, I was on this path earlier. And I could be on this path again now that I found a liberal religious home. And so once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. And I started seminary about 6 months later. Yeah. A few questions about church. When does the new interim DRE start? August 1st. Their name is Nick. They're coming with a family, a spouse and 2 kids, and a very handsome dog that I think Bob was going to get along with. They'll start August 1st. August 1st is a Saturday, so it might be like 2nd or 4th. I'm not exactly sure, but right in that like window of time. And here's a little more challenging one. We seem to be told a lot to build community, and there's a lot of emphasis around that. I feel like it's forced and like we're not doing community right. Is there something I or the congregation need to know? What a great question. I'll speak for myself. When I talk about the importance of building community, and I do feel like a broken record, because I say this a lot, but that's also what we are, right? For many people, they have their own spiritual practices, maybe religious practices, they have their own theologies. They could try to go it alone. To me, the point of church is to not go it alone, to go it with others, right? To come to a service on a Sunday morning, you could stay home, you could stay outdoors where it's gorgeous, you might have other things you could prioritize, but you've chosen to come and to sit in pews next to other people who, some of whom you know, many of whom you don't, and try to make meaning together, with others, next to others, alongside others, knowing that those paths are all going to look different, but that they're made richer together. So why I talk about it a lot, and sometimes do feel like a broken record, is I do think it's important and it needs to be talked about more often. And I think all of us, myself included, need to be reminded of this. I don't know if any of you have gone to, let's say, trainings, sort of like more in the political world or social justice world. I often have gone to some, like let's say an anti-racism training, and they turn and make you talk to strangers, and it's so uncomfortable. And I don't want to do it some days, and I go, oh, we asked the people at our church to do that. Interesting. I don't always love doing it either, right? And the reminder is, there are people here, let's say at that example, at an anti-racism training, who also want to learn next to me. What could I learn actually from meeting them, right? What am I missing out on if I don't engage and hear from them and they hear from me, right? So I try to always push myself to build community outside of the church, and it will probably always be a thing we talk about, and we probably will always be wanting to get better at it. Yeah. I'm going to move over to the, what did you call this category? Theological, philosophical? Yeah, the good stuff. How do UUs balance respecting the diversity of theological perspectives with rigid practices of dogmatic habits? Interesting. I don't exactly know how to answer that. I don't know what this person means by dogmatic habits, but I will just say here in the UU church, we don't really have a dogma, right? Dogma being a set of beliefs, a creed. We talk very regularly about being bound together by covenant, not creed. So there might be people who have an internal habit based on their own set of beliefs. I'm not sure if that's what this person's getting at. But it sounds like one key element that would be missing here, I think, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is curiosity, a sense of curiosity. So I might know for myself what really works for my own spiritual practice, and it could be, I could have that maybe, whether it's naivete or arrogance, to think that that will work for you, or that will work for you, as opposed to saying, this works for me, what works for you? Right? To really think, like, what calms your spirit? What broadens your horizons? What are the things that work for people next to me that might not work for me? And how do I honor that difference, right? Thinking about flawed individuals in public life, example, Graham Plattner, how does one balance retribution with redemption? Ooh. This is the best part of it. I don't have to be the judge, right? In a lot of theistic traditions, people view a god as a judge. And in those traditions, the humans are reminded, you're not the judge. You're not the final judge. But I think what I'm hearing in this question is there possibility for second chances and redemption? And I think yes. I think there are people whose consequences will be greater if, for instance, a Senate seat you were running for, right, is an elevated position already with extra power, responsibility. There are moments like that then consequences and fallout are greater. But do I believe in redemption? Yes. I believe in forgiveness and healing. And it is not the kind where people have to feel forced to forgive, right? Or to forgive for the other person's benefit. It's for their benefit, right? That's the kind of forgiveness I believe in. The kind that might heal or transform me when I choose to let go of that anger, that wound, that hatred, right? I will just say briefly, this is more than the question, but it feels important. There's a lot of anger right now at many of our leaders, right? I fear it, I share it. And there's been moments where I've been really surprised in UU circles, hearing people talk about, for instance, the potential death of leaders in ways that are both understandable and also really heartbreaking, right? When there was an assassination attempt, I heard jokes even sometimes about people thinking that they wished they wouldn't have missed. And that for a moment, for me, was a moment of deep, we need to check ourselves right now. We need to think about who we actually are and what we actually value. If we really are Universalists who do believe in redemption, we need to think about that a little deeper, on a deeper level. Yeah. Okay, we have one question from Zoom I wanted to get to before my timer goes out. How did it get worded? What is your favorite thing about your ministry here? So I preached about this, I would say, maybe 4 years ago by now. But I've had the privilege of being an associate minister, a second minister, or a third minister even, since 2018. And I've worked with 3 different senior ministers. See, the timer's going off, so this is the last answer before the music break. I worked with Victoria, I worked with Reverend Roger, who was our interim, and I now work with Reverend Jessica. And early on in the interim, I realized that what we were doing, we were portaging, right? It was as if we were on a Boundary Waters trip. We had been on one beautiful lake, call it Lake Victoria, right? We were in her ministry with her. And then we had to leave that lake. And we were sad about it. We loved that lake. We loved so much about that lake. We learned a lot on that lake, right? But on a Boundary Waters trip, you get to the end of a lake, and you get to the portage point, and you have to go through the woods. You have to carry the canoe, carry your gear. It's actually really hard. I love it. I'm a person who thrives on stamina sports and on big challenges. I'm let's go. And I preached about this, saying we're on a portage. We don't know what that next lake is yet. There's a part of us that's we could never find a lake as beautiful, right? And I've been on the Boundary Waters feeling that exact thing. And then I get to that next lake and I'm oh wow, this lake is as beautiful, and it's different, and it's not the same shape. I'm having a different experience here, but I'm still loving it, right? So my favorite part of ministry is actually being that person that's helped us get through that, right? That continuity person that's helped find us from one lake through the portage to the next lake. That's been the greatest joy of my ministry. I'll pause for now for some music before more questions. A few more questions. Were you raised in a loving family growing up? Yes. Yes. Was that love complicated? Yes. Is that relatable? I felt very, very loved growing up, especially. And parts of my family don't understand homosexuality and queer people. And so that's a really hard part. It's a really hard part of it, to have part of the family not fully either understand you or accept you. That's hard. But there's also chosen family, and there's also church family and queer family for me. Lots of friends, lots of other people who meet that family need. What's been the most impactful book you've read on your spiritual journey? It's too hard. I'll come back to this one. What are your daily spiritual practices? Movement in nature is something I do, if not every day, almost every day. A lot of that is running, sometimes biking, maybe swimming. I was like, is that me? There's a metronome, I'm being timed. And another part of my daily spiritual practices is waking up early enough to just have a time to wake up in the morning with myself. And usually that also involves reading. Not every single day, but at least every other. This is a very sweet question I just want to share with you. Jack, do you know how many people in this community are sending you positive energy to get through the hard times? Hint, many, many, many. Thank you. Why and when did you get into ultra running? I have no idea. I started running a long time ago, and then I stopped for a while, and then I just started again. I don't know. On sabbatical, I think I really got into it, so it's kind of your fault too for giving me sabbatical. But no, I really enjoyed just running in nature is my spiritual practice, so I got to do it a lot last year in sabbatical, and I've really enjoyed it. So I run very long distances, I do it slowly, I do it smartly, and I really enjoy it. And the other question is, what is the longest run you've run? So far it's 38 miles, and I hope to do 50 soon. So wish me luck, it's in September. Thank you for doing Good Trouble in January. What was it like to be there at the airport? This is about being arrested with other clergy at the airport in the middle of Operation Metro Surge. I will just say I got to be there with our intern, Kaz, our former intern, and it was lovely. It was a very well-planned action. Our leaders had already talked with the Metropolitan Police who run the airport security. They had a plan for how all of it was going to happen, and many times civil disobedience arrests like that are that gentle. It was very cold. It was very cold. I don't regret it, and I will say, having been arrested now for a few different civil disobedience acts, I will just say, for those that maybe didn't know this or don't know this, it's not as bad as you'd think. If you feel the call to stand up and say, this isn't right, and I'm gonna make a stand and get arrested for it, there's often ways to do it like we did it, organized, well-planned, thought out well, with a very strategic, vision. And then often, as happens, you get cuffed and shipped to a bus, or you have to wait to get uncuffed and get a ticket, and you get released. It's very simple. And then the court dates all went, and charges got lowered, and there was some kind of simple administrative fee I had to pay at the end, and it was worth it. So yeah, I'd do it again. 5 stars. If you had a week to binge watch a TV series, which one would it be? Oh boy, this is a hard one. Severance, I think. I haven't watched it yet. Many people have watched it. It's 2 seasons only, so wouldn't take that long, but I've heard it's good. Yeah, Severance, that's my answer. And then, what question do you have for the congregation to ponder? That is a really good one. I know when I was leaving for sabbatical, a charge I left you all with was to really think about welcoming people in my absence, because I was nervous that wouldn't happen. I'm often a pusher of the welcoming mindset here, but you did. I heard back, and I saw the effects of you welcoming well while I was gone. I don't know if that answers this question yet. I have to ponder this longer, and I get to do that. Why do you think it's so hard to unite people in the common root values that span all faiths? Yeah, I think I hear in this question also, why don't we do more interfaith things necessarily, right? Why do we have maybe as many differences? Yeah, I don't, this is beyond my pay grade, I think. This is a big question. In my study of religions, there is this concept, right, that many people think all religions are the same. And then many people think all religions are very different. And in reality, to me, it's really in the middle, where of course there are religious impulses that are the same in us, but then there's also the very different specificity of each religion, cultural differences, practice differences, right, that have real meaning. I don't want to paper over those differences, right? So how do we honor both the differences and the similarities? The vision I have for this, actually, I wrote a paper on it. It's thinking about the world's religions as the world's oceans, right? So if you think about the world's oceans, they're all connected. And the borders aren't like walls. So those molecules of water are going back and forth between the different oceans, right? But in reality, the Arctic Ocean is different from the Atlantic Ocean. They have different like ocean floors, different marine animals live there. They have their own currents. So each religion is different and unique, and still there's so much interplay. There's so much movement back and forth, right? And in reality, it is still one world ocean that is on our planet. So that's kind of how I like to think about this idea of world religions, and I can't answer the question of why it's so hard to get united, but I can try. What do you think happens when you die? This is a great one. Most importantly, I will name that many people have their own beliefs about this. And when I'm accompanying somebody who is dying, or who's accompanying someone whose spouse is dying, or parent, child, whatever it is, right? I really want to lift up their beliefs, their understanding, and honor them and affirm them. I have maybe different beliefs than they do. In that moment, I don't have to talk about that. That's not actually helpful, right? But for me, what happens, what I know happens is the carbon molecules that make up me go back into the earth somehow, right? I think a lot about the legacy people leave, the emotional, relational legacy, people that I have both loved and been loved by. Those that outlive me are going to have that in them. My love, the memory of me, and my legacy, and they carry that forward. But the physical part of me disintegrates and reintegrates with trees, with animals. And that to me is a way that my matter actually gets like a second life, a second chance, a rebirth, as it were. And to me, that's beautiful. To some, it's, I think, dark. There is something both dark and hopeful about that, for me. I am new here and I'm unsure of my spirituality. How do I figure myself out? What resources do you provide for people like me? Thank you. Great question. I think I can't speak for everyone here, and I wouldn't try, but for me, if exploring your own spirituality is important, one first step is giving yourself space to do that, right? And that space might be space from like the monotony of life as it's happening, or it might be you need some time away from some of the regular things to really set them down, right? Whether that's a small retreat you give yourself, some kind of time to really to dig in and explore. I think I can't know exactly what maybe this person's looking for, but in a one-on-one conversation, I might kind of hear some interests, right, that this person has, and ask them, what happens if you follow those interests a little deeper? And with those interests, I might even be able to make some recommendations about various spiritual resources that could help. I know I've talked to many of you about books you've read that have helped you, right? And that might not help this person or me, but it helped you. And so thinking about what some of those books are, what some of those grounding books are, yeah, it's a good question. Ministers often say, no, weddings are not my favorite, but funerals and memorials are, where I float my boat. Say something of your experience. Yeah, I wouldn't say that exactly. I do enjoy weddings. I think they're beautiful. I think I've seen many weddings that were not very beautiful. So then to see some that were later in life, I grew up in a conservative tradition where wives were told to submit to their husbands in their wedding vows, and that always irked me. Now that I officiate weddings, refuse to do weddings like that, and I'm upfront about that from the get-go. I only officiate weddings between equals, between peers. And I love them. But there is something very beautiful about funerals and memorials. I will agree about that. And I think what it is that when someone dies, their loved ones, their family, their friends gather, and they remember so many beautiful things about this person, right? About their life, about the joy that was brought to them through this person, right? So I get to hear all these stories of joy and memory and some wild stories too, that really help paint a bigger picture of a person's life. People here who I've known for years that have died, and you hear stories about when they were 20 or 30, and you didn't know that. I didn't ask that person that necessarily, right? So you almost see a fuller picture of a person, and in the moment of the memorial, this whole room sometimes is filled with people who are here to honor, to remember. And in that moment, in the act of remembering, they're also affirming their own life, right? They're saying, I'm here, I've loved this person, I'm gonna keep going, right? We can leave a memorial with this life-affirming legacy to go back out and keep living life and keep loving, keep making connections. And that's just so beautiful. To see it, to lead a memorial and watch people who are grieving, also finding joy and finding hope for that next step forward, that's just really moving. And I'm honored to do it. So yeah, I think I understand what this person's getting at. Whew. My timer went off. This has been 20 minutes of answering questions with Jack. I have more that I didn't get to, so I'm sorry that if I didn't get to yours. But you can always ask me questions in person, through email. Thank you for this opportunity just to share more about life. Yeah, thank you. Will you join me for the final hymn, Rise in Body or Spirit, number 1020, Wo Ya Ya, in the teal hymnal. My hope from today's service is that you will take even more curiosity with you. Maybe at your next dinner party you host, you'll have little questions or a centering question you ask your guests to go a little deeper with them, to ask more, to share more. Before we part, I want to just explain the birthday party is about to start. Only one piece of cake to start. The idea is grab your cake first and then go find your table that has your birthday month. There are 4 in the atrium and the other 8 are in the social hall. So please join me for the all-church birthday party.